SMS line, and if you're online, please use the hashtag Opinion Court. That's one word. It will help us to track your conversation. I will reintroduce my guests to you and our topics one by one. To my far right is Edward Kisiangani. He is our resident political analyst. Next to him is Gladys Wanga, I beg your pardon, an ODM legislator. And to my left is Sakaja Johnson, a Jubilee Member of Parliament. And you're all welcome to the program. So I want to begin very quickly with the issue of the doctor strike, which is now in its 75th day. Today was supposed to be day one of court-ordered negotiations. It failed to kick off. But interestingly, we saw a political turn with ODM CORD rather very boldly saying that it is in support of the doctor strike. What was the objective, Gladys, when it came to attending the, if you like, homecoming rally for the doctors, the free doctors?
Thank you, and I think we didn't just start by attending the homecoming rally. The day before yesterday, we also took time to visit with the doctors, because I think the jailing of the doctors was a new low. I think we've gone low as a country, but we haven't gone as low as jailing people simply for saying implement a CBA which the government, you know, put its signature on. So going to Uhuru Park was to show solidarity with the doctors and to tell the government, look, you signed this CBA. If you can't meet it, at least negotiate with the doctors. Don't jail them. So this was our message to the doctors, that the government needs to provide political leadership, which has been completely lacking. We have seen what is happening between Muraguri and Mailu, and you wonder why they are still in office. So I think this was the reason we were moving forward with this. And I think one of the things that Kenyans must understand is the CBA is not just about doctors' pay. The CBA is about improvement of the health system generally. Going through the CBA, I think Kenyans should take their time to go through the CBA. The CBA talks about training of doctors, continuous professional development. It talks about giving doctors scholarships to study in areas of specialty, things that we have been talking about all along. It talks about doctors having at least the minimum facilities to perform their duties. So the CPA is not just about 300% increase, what we are being made to believe. It's about a comprehensive improvement of the health system. And this was the solidarity we were showing with the doctors.
All right. What did you think of the opposition wading very bravely into the pro-doctor side, something that we haven't seen, frankly, of Jubilee legislators?
First of all, I must concur partly with my friend Gladys. I think the jailing of the doctors is unnecessary, and you know, it is very easy to get into the politics and say that they were jailed by the government. I think we all understand the law. Not only was the case not sponsored by the government, they were jailed by the courts, you know, for contempt of court. I think it was unnecessary, and I'm glad that they were released, because the solution to this strike would not be found within the confines of jail cell. I also want to, you know, point out that, of course, you know, I think it was natural for the opposition to try and gain some political capital out of it, and I must, you know, congratulate the doctors. I had them chanting no politics. And I think all through they have tried to steer clear of siding with any political side of the equation. This is a matter that I know, you know, it has taken long. It's been very unfortunate. All the side shows, I think there's been failure from every part of those who've been on the table. It's unfortunate that one side has even remained intransigent and not moving from the demands. The negotiation is give and take. But the point where it had reached, I think, in the last 2 weeks, and I know because I've personally been engaging on this matter, you know, informally with the doctors, it's an issue that is going to be resolved. The issues in the CBA that Gladys has pointed out, Honorable Gladys Wanga has pointed out, the issues of improvement of, you know, healthcare, etc., are things that we all believe in, that Jubilee as well believes in. And on those particular issues, there was no contention, you know.
But does Jubilee categorically take the position, Jubilee legislators rather, or even speaking for yourself, that doctors are right to be on strike? Do you support them?
I think our constitution gives everybody a right to take industrial action. The only thing that we would have wanted is that this to be resolved much earlier. And out of all the articles of the CBA, The only contentious issue then has been, I think, the reclassification of the job groups and the matter of the salaries. That is the only thing in contention, and it must be resolved at the quickest available opportunity as soon as possible. 74 days is far too long. I would hate to imagine, I would even shudder at the thought that some of them are trying to allow politics to come into it. This is a matter where we must look at it as Kenyans. It's not Jubilee people who are suffering or court people, it's Kenyans who are suffering. And these doctors are also Kenyan doctors. And so all of us must close ranks and ensure that even the doctors do not be hardlining. The government should not be hardline. We cannot be intransigent on fixed positions. You cannot get ahead when you're trying to get even. I have confidence, even through the discussions we've been having. You can't get ahead
when you're trying to get even.
You can't, and so it must be a give and take. And I'm glad that the court has even come up with a different approach to it, as proposed a certain panel. These are some of the intricacies that come, with the evolution. The employers are the governors. The governors took them to court. But when they go to court, people assume, it's the president who's jailed them. And of course, we've had politicians saying that Jubilee has gotten into a law by jailing doctors. Jubilee did not jail doctors. Jubilee cannot jail anybody. It was a court decision. And I'm sure if they had stayed longer than yesterday, the president would himself have pardoned them, because he has the power of mercy so they can resolve this thing. All of us are suffering as this goes on.
Prof, let me come to you. We've heard the government say, the government spokesperson in particular saying, we have failed to convince doctors that you can negotiate and at the same time take care of the sick. Is there any other course of action the government can take at this point to take care of the sick?
I think the taking care of the sick involves personnel from the medical staff. So it is difficult to take care of the sick without the doctors. So really, that means that we have only one option, that the doctors should be persuaded through negotiations to get back to work while they work out their CBA. But having said that, Anne, people are saying that what happened yesterday with the opposition was wrong because they are introducing politics to the issue of doctors. And that's a very narrow view of politics. All life is politics. Politics determines how our resources are used and even distributed.
But if it becomes a Jubilee versus court thing, don't we lose the issue?
It is already a political issue. Look at how it happened in the court. Initially, there was an argument from government side that, look, when they negotiated the CBA, there was no participation from the SRC. Now, when you don't have the participation of the SRC, which is an independent commission, who do you blame? In fact, I have maintained in the past on this show that the SRC in this country, the Salaries Remuneration Commission, has been engaged in an illegal activity. It doesn't know its mandate. And I can demonstrate this under Article 230, Item 4. The Item 4A says that SRC is supposed to advise national governments and county governments on how to remunerate and pay salaries to public servants, among other duties. It does not say that SRC should sit in a negotiation team with the workers. Now, it is up to government to ask SRC to give it the advice that they think would be commensurate with the money they have to pay the workers. But when you see that SRC people also come to stand and start talking to workers, that is illegal. There is no provision. And if Parliament and the parliamentarians are here, they have passed a law which allows SRC to talk directly to the workers, it's illegal. Now, where people think that this politically, this influences the judiciary is that I remember in the ruling of Justice Wasirwa, she seemed to agree with the fact that SRC was not consulted. Now, if it was not consulted, do you blame the doctors or do you blame the government? So these are governance problems that we do not have. And in fact, for me, the jailing of doctors was very painful. It should not have happened because they are not criminals. But they were saying this, that we gave a CBA, a government official signed. But then you are now questioning whether that government official had mandate or not. Do you go back and blame the workers? Every 4 years or 3 years, depending on the agreement, every worker has certain obligations and the employer is supposed to meet certain obligations. Government shouldn't have waited for this. So the crisis that you're seeing in the health sector is not about lack of funds, and it is bad governance. And this bad governance needs to be fixed by people taking responsibility. And that bad governance is even evident in the fact that during a Senate presentation yesterday, there was clear indication that members of the executive led by, for the health docket led by Clover Mailu, the minister CS, plus the principal secretary, are the ones who caused problem. They did not take responsibility. So why they are still in government is a shock. So in this case, therefore, if we are going to have any more of these kind of things, and we really require that people take responsibility. And the chaos that are there, they all stop at the executive, because we have even seen it from the executive.
You're saying it's time for the CS and PS to take political responsibility and what, step aside from the talks?
No, I think they have.
75 days, are you saying they're incompetent?
75 days of disagreeing, while an important thing like the doctor strike is going on, and then they are just disagreeing, and you can see they have disagreed. Now they are promising they will work. So who do you blame that? In fact, even the public is already recruited to think that either the government initiated this disagreement so that the problem is not settled, or the government was simply insensitive, because these people cannot quarrel for 75 days and the government doesn't take notice.
But I'm asking you specifically about the position of the CS and PS, because both Gladys and yourself have brought it up, that you are shocked that they're still in office. You are saying that they should remove themselves from the talks. Do you believe they are an impediment to the talks?
I think they don't deserve to negotiate with the doctors. Actually, if there was anybody,
the president should sack them?
They should be sacked, or they should actually replace the doctors in committee and the Kajiado. These are the people who should sit in the... Because they are afraid. But something little about the other part of politics, which she talked about, which I would like to respond to, Anne, is the fact that politics, every political operative takes advantage of a situation. These guys can, politics is not a church. It's not a mosque. So they saw a political opportunity to do it. And in fact, for me, if I was teaching my students in the university in political economy, I'll say, this is an excellent thing, because they used the opportunity. They knew that the government has weaknesses. It didn't deal with the problem very well. Power doesn't know a vacuum. They filled it. And maybe they promised that they would do better, even if they wouldn't do better, but maybe they promised that if they take power, they might improve the situation with the doctors.
Has government shown a degree of incompetence in handling this matter, that it persists for 75 days?
As I get to that, because I must really refute what Prof is saying. You see,
you've left a vacuum, he said.
This thing is, should not be looked at through the eyes of Code and Jubilee. I think any serious leader in this country must know when to transcend politics. If we go into the intricacies of the politics, we'll say, okay, the health committee of the employers, and the employers are the governors, is headed by ODM, Governor Ranguma and all that. Kenyans don't care about that. Kenyans want doctors back. Doctors have certain things that must be met, or that need to be met. They need to move from one position, and government from one position, and close ranks. Has there been incompetence? I think several actors have failed. I think there's been an amount of failure from the Council of Governors. I think there's been an amount of failure from the Health Minister and his PS. I think there's been an amount of failure from the doctors themselves. Because I don't think there's anything that ideally should be too big for you to resolve when you sit around the table. I don't think these doctors who have taken that hypocritical oath are enjoying being out. I would hate to think that, if that is true. So everybody must must take responsibility, and it's time for us to be able to just close ranks around this issue. We're hearing about, certain meetings, and some people are there, some are not there. In some of the meetings, the governors are represented, they're not. In some of the meetings, government is and it's not. Kenyans are tired of that. Kenyans don't care about these details we're talking about which committee it was, about which politician has come to the rally. Kenyans want health restored, and I want to assure you, because I know the president himself has been very concerned about this. He has engaged in this matter before.
What can he do practically to end it?
I think he can lead. He can take over. At some point, you can forget all of this red and black and white lines of government bureaucracy. That there's an independent SRC, that there's a council of governors, that there is the national government and county government. The president is above all of that.
He can take over and say what?
Leave as president, as head of state. He can be able to say, now this is enough. I've had enough of this.
The constitution allows you.
As head of state, not as head of national government.
Yes, yes.
And I'm sure when they sit down on those specific issues, and I'm telling you this because the issues have now been narrowed to very few issues, you know, he should be able to do it, and I know he will. He is the one who will provide the solution.
Okay.
At this point,
all right.
Sometimes these government structures, especially with devolution, are not working. You know, you're not reading on the same page with the governors. You're not reading from the same page. Even the court, as you're saying, is interpreting this differently. This is a time when you transcend and leave the national government and county government and say, look, doctors are mine, the governors are mine, the national government is mine, the county governments are mine, the people of Kenya are mine. Let's resolve this issue. And I promise you, before very long, that will be done. Okay,
so the buck for you stops with the president. But, you know, this is not the only issue, as you're aware, that has been surrounding the doctors' strike today. The political grapevine is awash with images of a 2014 Facebook post that has been credited to the Secretary General of the Doctors' Union. The post has since been pulled down off his page, but appears to show him engaging in what some would say is ethnic profiling and political saber-rattling, painting a picture, another side to a man who just a day ago emerged from the prisons as a hero. What, Gladys, did you think of this post, and why do you think it's coming up now?
Yeah, let me first comment on the issues that have gone by, and I think Honorable Sakaja has spoken about closing ranks. Yes, we want to close ranks and we want to have this issue resolved, but we must call a spade a spade. It's 74 days later. 75 days. The president is yet to do whatever he needs to do. He has, even doctors were jailed, and Sakaja said that he was supposed to have pardoned them if they were going to sleep another night. So how many nights were we going to wait for him to actually deal with this issue? There is a serious lack of political leadership on this matter. I think this is where Kenyans are wondering, do we have a president, or do we need to drag bodies from mortuaries and from hospitals, put them on the road for the president to see that this is serious enough? We saw before the Senate the PS agreeing to having insubordinated the CS and left the responsibility of negotiating with doctors to a junior staff to go and spearhead voter registration. Was that more important than resolving the doctor strike? Isn't that big failure of this government? I mean, and these are issues that we must put on the table. We cannot sugarcoat them. We cannot say them any other way. It is clear to Kenyans. The failures are clear. I think they need to be admitted to. And coming back to the post, I think I want to ask the same question you're asking. Why is this coming up now? It is because of what you said was the political angle that the strike was taking. I think there are some people who now want to bring the doctors apart, and they want to use this ethnic profiling, ethnic issues and what have you to try and portray even some of the union leaders as ethnic and so on and so forth. So I personally, I've seen the posts and I've seen them countered and said some say they're fake, some say they're true, and so on and so forth. But I think that this should not be used to distract Kenyans from the real issue, which is how is this government going to provide leadership? And you know that even agriculture is devolved. But when we had the drought, the president came up and said, this is now a national disaster and let us deal with it. And this is the action that Kenyans expect. 75 days later, and you sit back and say you're waiting for a few more days for more Kenyans to die? Or what exactly does the president want? And I think that needs to be very clear.
I think you didn't get me right. First of all, I didn't say the president was supposed to offer this if they said for, you know.
He said if they said another day, the president was going to pardon them.
I'm not saying it was going. I don't control it. I'm saying I'm sure that is what would have happened. It's just that there was an appeal in court. Remember, you know, the president is not the one who has taken them to jail. It's an independent court. A court has, and not even based on the contents of that.
Right.
It's about contempt of court.
Right.
You know, and there are all these institutions that you must give a chance to operate, and they failed to operate. The president himself has been engaging on this matter, which is why I'm saying everybody must close ranks. The closing of ranks has taken too long, but it's been happening. These people have actually, you know, softened some of their stance. But you cannot say that unless you fully implement this 100% as it is, we're not going to go back. Everybody must, you know, must do a give and take.
I think, Mheshimiwa, let's get to the point that Anne is raising about the post.
On the Facebook.
But it's also related to what you are saying. You know, we want things to work. we want our institutions to work.
Yes.
There are so many people in the current administration and even in the opposition who have been contemptuous about the courts, and nothing has been done. And we can list and we can walk away with 100, 200, but when you ask, somebody tries to justify. If you want to apply the law on contempt, even the judiciary must be ashamed that it can apply this thing selectively when certain people, powerful people, don't have that. Now that the relationship, the judiciary should be and then the relationship between that and the post we are seeing. First of all, on this post that I've seen, it is ethnically nauseating because it seems to talk about an ethnic community in a bad way. I first of all would ask, what is the veracity of this posting? And if there is veracity in it and we can establish that it was posted by the doctor in question, why would it take 2-3 years before action is taken?
Because the 24th
because that also tells you how our institutions are failed, and people wait for you to make some mistakes and then they come for you. And yet it means that under other circumstances you will still commit crime and walk away. We have seen politicians getting involved in hate speech and nothing is taken up. They talk openly, then you expect that action will be taken, it's not taken. So in this case, this posting, first of all, if the way it is worded is correct, the fellow who said that should be in jail. Now, again, the fellow who was supposed to take action and didn't take action should be in jail.
In 2014.
Should be in jail. And yet, you have the cohesion, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission with a chairman. They keep talking about, did they see this post? If they saw this post and they did take an action, why are we paying them salary? The Caparo team. This is why I feel so infuriated, so incensed by the fact that we have institutions which have been taken over by cartels and individuals, and they apply it selectively whenever it helps. It is not going to take our country anywhere. So I abhor the post, and I would like to know whether we have established its veracity, whether it came from the same person, or it was a concoction. It needs investigation.
I think what I'll say about that, first of all, this country will be built on the strength of different institutions being able to work.
Yes.
That is why we have a new constitution. We have a framework that gives SRC its functions, that gives the governors their functions, that gives even the courts their freedom. And I think it will be very dishonest for us as politicians to create this sense that you can always just go laterally across all these institutions without them playing their role.
Yes.
If there has been contempt of court on the part of any Kenyan, that the court must be respected, and I think on that one we must be unequivocal about it. No matter what the situation is, that must be followed. When it comes to this Facebook post, because you must ask yourself why it's coming up now.
Yes.
If it is true, it is extremely unfortunate. Those remarks that have no space in the Kenya of today. But if you ask me, that is an entirely separate issue. I don't think we need to start looking at these doctors in terms of where the political affiliations are. Every Kenyan has a right to be in whichever political party.
To associate, right?
There are some who I know in that committee who are with us in Jubilee. There are some who I know in court. That is their freedom. I think when you start moving an argument from the issues on the table to the individuals at the table, then it's already a losing argument. But the institutions that are charged with that responsibility should take that up as a separate issue.
And so you would say it does not it doesn't cast suspicions on the character of the leader of the Stokes. Does it, politics or not, does it affect the way doctors will be going to the negotiating table?
You see, the first thing I'll say is this: every Kenyan has a political affiliation.
Right.
But it will be such a disappointment if these specific doctors have decided, and again I will say, to sacrifice at the altar of political expediency the lives of Kenyans, that they're playing politics with this. If that is true, I will be extremely disappointed. Millions of Kenyans will be disappointed, and many of the doctors who are the followers of these leaders will be disappointed. So I would hate to think that is the situation. If it is true, it is extremely disappointing for this country. I think we need to look at the issues on the table. These issues are going to be resolved. But
Annie is raising the issue of integrity, the integrity matter. We need to get 2014.
What that 2014 post would show, is the character of the individual and probably his political leaning. If it is true, for me,
but
his
not
political
the
leaning
quality,
does not
the
matter.
issue of the talks,
His political leaning does not matter. It is what the issues on hand. And if it is true that there is political sabotage, and that means that that CORD has been using these officials to keep us in a perpetual state of a health crisis, then I think Kenyans need to know that. But I would give them the benefit of the doubt. I do not want to think that that is what they're doing, and we will not use it as well as for politics. The same way CORD, would try to use the doctor strike for politics. We will not use the affiliations of any official for politics.
All right, let me wind this up there. And Citizen TV did reach out to Dr. Oluga and Doctors Union officials for comment and to come on the show, but they were unavailable. We will have just a quick moment to comment on the politics and, of course, the election timelines. Ladies, gentlemen, we've seen the court again wading into this matter, as is their jurisdiction, and allowing extended time on voter registration. We've seen them question tendering in as far as the ballot process. Are you concerned at all that this will affect the election timelines? It will affect the IEBC's ability to deliver a credible election?
I think as far as the election, the registration process is concerned, and what the courts did today, an extension of 2 days I do not think should jeopardize any timelines as we speak. I think they're going to give an opportunity. I think what we have to note is that there are many Kenyans out there who did not register yet, but not for a fault of their own. There are many who applied for IDs that have not even been returned for a long time until the president gave a directive to say issue IDs in 3 days, and then now IDs start to come out quickly. So you wonder, what has the Office of the Registrar of Persons been doing all along and not registering people quickly? So I think this is going to give an opportunity to those who have been out there waiting to register and the IDs have not come back and so on to be able to register. So that is laudable. And on the issue of the tendering and so on and so forth, I think as the courts go about their jurisdiction and doing their work, I think they must be alive to the fact that we will have to have an election on the 8th of August. I think they were very clear that, but they're not going to sit back and say, okay, this tendering process was okay if it wasn't. They're going to say, they're going to come into it and they're going to make their point. But I think going forward, I'm sure the judges are alive to the fact that we do not want an extension of the election date. We must have an election on the 8th of August, but it must be done right.
Right. Prof, final comment.
My comment is this, that what has happened at the courts has revealed a small weakness in the systems. Next time we have an election now, Parliament should envisage this litigation. And the factor part of the litigation to be part of the electoral rules, that, for example, we have a registration period, and there must be litigation if you have any complaints within this particular period, so that it becomes part of the schedule. That is what we are learning, because right now, as it's happening, nobody, I think, in Parliament, even in October when they were doing the amendments, seemed to have envisaged this long-term litigation. Nobody imagined Omtata would come on the front bench and argue his point. So, but basically, what as citizens we should appreciate, that is the power of our constitution.
Right.
What is at stake is people who are going to Parliament are looking at this electoral process in terms of Chapter 4 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Bill of Rights is so elaborate that if it is violated, citizens have got to go to court for arbitration. So all you need is enough time so that those things are done through an act of Parliament, and then there is a ceiling from at which you can, continue litigation. Beyond that, you are not allowed to do it. So I think that is the right thing to do.
Right.
I'll say it very quickly. I know we're pressed for time. One, the extension was first 2 days. The next extension has been 3 days. Today it's been given till Sunday. I think it's the right of Kenyans, to be able to register. There are those who had challenges getting IDs. I'm not sure they will now get them in the next 5 days. At some point it must close, and not everybody will be able to, because the voter register is such an important part of an election. We need to be able to have it verified. We need to have it open out there, and we in Jubilee really want this election to, all the steps to be as transparent as possible, so that our victory is not then questioned because of different steps. But what I'll add is this: I think the threat and the concern that I've had, especially amongst colleagues, is this threat of judicial isolationism, where cases are brought and they're ruled in the as if nothing else exists. You increase 5 days, there's a budgetary implication, appropriations have been done. Who's going to pay for the extra 5 days? The IBC has a strict budget and all that. I think that is the only threat that is there, and people have been asking. They're saying, okay, so where is this money going to come from? Do we then now ask them to redo their budget? And so it puts certain things in jeopardy. But I think ideally, Kenyans, and I saw long lines towards the last few days. The first days there were no lines. The last 2 days, even in my own polling station here in Dagoretti North,
the Kenyan
the
way.
lines were just crazy, and we like going in the last day.
Okay.
So I hope, and if you're listening and you're a Kenyan, you've not registered, please take advantage of the next few days. Let's register so that we can elect leadership and bring back Jubilee to power.
Oh dear.
Kindly.
Now that's where to end the show. Gladys, I thank you. Vote whoever you want to vote for. Vote issues. Vote issues. I love that. We'll be back with business after this.